the super fun Cirque du Soleil makeup YouTube series, What Did I Just Do? Hi everybody, my name is Kyle Craigle and I'm an artist at Cirque du Soleil. Hi friends and family, welcome back to Color Me Cirque, the Cirque du Soleil makeup tutorial series, hosted by yours truly. My name is Kyle. If it's your first time, it's great to meet you. I hope that you enjoyed today's tutorial. Today we are going to work on a super fun makeup from OVO. This one is actually kind of a staple makeup of all of Cirque du Soleil because it is the simplest makeup. I'm gonna give you a few seconds to guess in case you know which one I'm talking about. 1, 2, 3, which one is it? If you guessed cricket, you guessed right. We are going to turn yellow and green today, and in order to do so, you might want to check out the products and tools that we have listed down in the description box. This will ensure that you have everything that you need to replicate this look today. If you're ready to get started and turn into a cricket, stick around for just 0.5 more seconds. Hello everybody and welcome to this makeup tutorial. Today we are going to be recreating a fun, energetic, and colorful makeup from our show OVO. So if you want to completely transform into a cricket, just stick around and keep on watching. First step is taking a yellow cream and just a regular old basic makeup sponge. You can find these basically anywhere, dollar store included. And I'm just going to work the yellow cream from the midsection of my neck approximately to about 3/4 of my way up the forehead. The reason why I'm only working it part of the way up my forehead is because the characters in the actual show have a hat. So if I were to go on stage as this character, I wouldn't have to work all the way through my forehead. However, if you're planning on wearing this to a party, or if you want to wear this to work or to a coffee date with your best friend, you can apply this all over your face. As I begin to apply the product to my T-zone, or the center of my face, around my eyes, on my forehead, and on my nose, where I tend to personally crease a lot, and I personally have an oilier skin, this product tends to be a little bit harder to get even, so I like to go in with a first layer, and I like to swipe it around my skin to make sure that the actual product, even if it's just a very thin layer, is in all of my nooks and crannies, and then I will go back over it, tapping the product in to make sure that it's super even. As for the rest of the face, I'm going to go in and use the tapping technique because it's the easiest way to even out a cream color. As for the rest of the face, I'm going to continue applying this product by using a combination of the swiping and tapping techniques. Do what you feel, it's really personal preference, everybody likes to do things differently. I would just recommend that when finishing off the final layer of this color, when you're completely done, to use the tapping technique, as it's the easiest way to get a nice even coverage at the full opacity of the color. To finish off this layer of yellow cream foundation, I'm actually going to go in with a mascara brush. I'm going to load it up with the product and I'm going to swipe it through my eyebrows. The reason why we do this is to just add a little bit more coverage because the sponge can't completely coat the hairs just because of the nature of how it's applied. I personally have thick, dark eyebrows, so I like to really go in and I like to swipe the mascara brush against the grain of my hair, and then I will take more product and I will go right back in the opposite direction, going with the grain of my hair. Once I feel that I have a sufficient amount of coverage on my actual eyebrows, I'm just going to take the same yellow sponge that we used to apply the product all over the face and lightly dab around the edges of my eyebrows just to marry the two sections and make sure that there's no marks. Once you're happy with that layer, I'm going to take a powder puff loaded with a translucent setting powder, and I'm going to set my entire face. Since I do crease a lot under my eyes, I like to go back in with the sponge and dab quickly to make sure that my coverage is nice and even and that there's no marks, similar to what I did around the eyebrows, and then press the powder in immediately. This will help avoid creasing, and it will really make sure that the layer is as smooth as possible. Once I'm finished setting the under eye, I'm going to go through with the exact same steps on the actual eyelid. As you can see, because we have a natural crease there are some marks on my eyelid, so I just like to smooth those out with a sponge before setting them. I will go in and apply this translucent powder everywhere using a nice firm pressure to make sure that the powder is really setting that cream makeup. This is the key to making sure that you have a long-lasting makeup through sweating, through laughing, through crying, through anything that your day could potentially present. Once we've worked that translucent powder in, I'm just going to go in with a dense-ish powder brush and I'm going to remove all of the excess. Don't be afraid to tap the excess powder off of the brush every once in a while, since we want to take the excess off of the face as opposed to dusting the excess around the face. Now that we are done dusting off all that excess powder, our next step is to go in with a dense brush and the MAC pigment in primary yellow to make sure that we can bring that yellow out Going in with a pigmented colored powder is going to ensure that we take off the rest of the excess powder and re-intensify that color. Just like the cream, I'm using a combination of a stippling technique and circular motions to pack the product in and then smooth it out and blend it. When stippling, I go in with a nice pressure. With a circular motion, I make sure that the pressure is super light and that the bristles of the brush are barely touching my face. I'm also packing this pigment over my eyebrow area, as that's the area where I probably need the most coverage on my face. Be nice and gentle around the eyebrow area, as you can disrupt the foundation because it can't absorb the product as well as your skin can. Okay, now that our yellow is done, we can move on to the most fun step, and that is applying the green. So I'm gonna go in with a small detailing brush and the MAC acrylic paint in the shade Landscape Green, and I'm going to begin to create a splash effect by dabbing this product all around my eyes. First off, I'm gonna go right along the lash line and make sure that I have a nice amount of intensity. Although I am dotting the product in, I actually kind of want to make sure that it ends up looking a bit like a liner, as the rule for this makeup is making sure that right around the eyes, it's nice and green and intense, fading out into a nice splatter effect towards the extremities of the face. I'm just going in with a varying amount of pressure and a varying amount of product, picking up when I feel is needed, and I'm literally just dotting this into my face randomly. The inspiration behind this makeup is splatter painting, so literally if I were to take my brush and start splattering it all over my face with an excess amount of the product, that's kind of our inspirational image. That's what we want it to look like. As much as I'm going to want to make this look even and perfect, the entire point of the makeup is for it to not look even and for it to look not perfect. There's a difference between making sure that the product is applied in a balanced fashion versus in an even fashion. As you can see, every once in a while, I'm dotting around in a circular motion, and then I'll stop that and I move to a different area, and I just start creating lines towards the outside of my face. We want a combination between nice concentrated hot spots and lines that are really creating a faded effect. So just go in as you feel. I would say that there are 2 or 3 main guidelines to keep in mind as you're creating this effect. The dots should go no lower than the end of your nose. So really the dots shouldn't be around your lip area. We want to keep them even with the nose area. Secondly, no matter where you're applying the product, we want to make sure that it's super green and super intense, the most intense around the eyes, and we want to fade it out. So as you start to work towards the extremities of your face, make sure that those dots are fewer and farther between. That rule is also the same when you're applying it onto your nose. We want to make sure that on your nose, which is the space in between your 2 eyes, is just slightly less intense. We want to bring the attention to 2 hot spots right around the eyes. Once you feel that you have a sufficient amount of dots around your face, we're actually going to go in and create more of those lines. I like to follow those lines that I created with dots and then just drag my brush over them. Once again, we want a combination of textures in this makeup, so dragging the lines is actually quite important, but we don't want too many of them. Choose the placement of your lines wisely, as we only want a couple on each side. In an ideal world, when applying these lines, we want one clean, smooth stroke. We want to feel movement, we want it to be organic. This does not have to be perfect. Once I'm generally satisfied with the lower half of my face, I'm going to continue on to the upper part of my face using the same techniques. As I previously stated, the area immediately around the eyes needs to be nice and intense. So when I dab this product on my eyelids, I'm actually really going for quite a full intensity. Although I want the eyelid to be completely green, practically, continue to use the dabbing technique because it is nice to see a couple of little spots and some yellow areas. Just like the bottom half, I'm starting immediately around my eye and I'm just trailing little dots at varying intensities towards the outside of my face. Sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small, sometimes I have a lot of product so the dot is super opaque, and other times I'm running out of product so it gives a little bit more of a faded effect. We want all of those textures in this makeup. Keep that organic feel, don't get too obsessed with making things nice and perfect. Once you feel that there's enough dots, start making some lines. Even if you feel like you've made a mistake, it's okay. The makeup is supposed to be living, it's supposed to be organic. If you feel that you've made a mistake, don't go over it too many times, as we still want to make sure that there's varying intensity in the product. If you start running over the quote-unquote mistake that you feel you've made, you're going to end up with a solid green patch, and that's actually the opposite of what we want in this makeup. It's better to have what you feel is a little mistake or something that's a little wonky or funky than having the intensity in the wrong place. Since we applied this makeup sort of in 2 different sections, being the lower half and the upper half of the face, I'm just going to go in randomly and kind of marry the two sides together, adding dots or lines in negative space that I feel would connect the two sides together to really make it one cohesive look. Since this product is an acrylic paint, it actually dries down and sets on its own. However, some artists do like to finish off this makeup look with a setting spray. The setting spray will just lock the makeup in place and it won't budge or won't move no matter what you do. Once you finish this step, that is a wrap! Congratulations! You have completely transformed yourself into a Cricut. And pretty soon, you'll be ready to join us on stage at OVO. Alright guys, that is it. We are all wrapped up for today's tutorial. I hope that you guys are feeling this OVO Cricut fantasy, looking green and yellow and super fun and flashy. If you guys liked this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you guys post any photo or video after having used this tutorial, please hashtag us at ColorMeCirc. I'd love to see your replications. It's a little fun like pastime while I'm waiting for next week's to come up. Like I'm like, oh, who did last week's? I keep track of you guys. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe already. We want you coming back next week. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.